I think intelligence is the ability to translate the observer to our body, because the observer, the voice within you, always wants something and always wants to make some corrections to help the body to improve itself. And that's what intelligence does. You have to always listen to this observer, and intelligence makes you to understand this observer coherently and to follow this observer's advices. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's why I try to understand myself. And now I think it's very important to be able to understand yourself, because without understanding of yourself, you delegate this understanding of yourself to artificial intelligence, and how artificial intelligence would understand you would determine your future, because we communicate so much with artificial intelligence, and in some sense slightly redirect us toward certain things that we're not sure if we really want to go there. And to be sure, you have to know yourself. And I'm trying to understand myself while communicating with artificial intelligence. I try to understand and think how it affects my psyche, how it affects my intelligence. I not just want to think about myself that I have to read a lot of books constantly. What artificial intelligence gives me, it's not enough, because in some sense, if I don't read books, artificial intelligence would make me lazy, since it adapts its intelligence to accommodate my understanding of this intelligence without me struggling to understand this information on my own. Like when I read a book, I have to try to understand this book by reading it many, many times if this book worthy of reading. And sometimes what I do, I ask AI to explain to me certain pieces from the book that I'm not quite understand, and it helps me a lot with that. But still, I try to grind myself through the book. There's another interesting thing I figure out today, that comfort might be the bridge that with the two lanes, and what it does, intelligence goes out while comfort goes in. It's like we delegate our intelligence to AI in exchange of more comfort. And that's, I think, our goal is in the current society, to delegate as much as we can to artificial intelligence for some imaginary world that I'm not sure even exists. And that's why I'm struggling with this idea, because I want to understand what's wrong with this idea and why it doesn't sound right. Because think about it for a second. People think that comfort is everything. It's not. I don't think comfort is essential for us, because when you're comfortable, you don't have desires to place yourself into a situation that would challenge your ability to overcome those situations. But that's the only way to grow. There's no other way to grow. If I want to do something, I have to do something hard to be able to understand if I really know that I can overcome this something. We constantly have to stress ourselves, mentally or physically, to be able to improve our physical bodies or mental state. And my relationship with artificial intelligence is interesting, because I try to communicate, try to understand how it affects me. And often I notice certain things, like it tried to be too polite to me, or it tried to exaggerate things about me. And I have to always keep this little piece on the back of my head that it doesn't sometimes know what it's saying, because I think what it does, it labels me through the amount of information it was trained on. And then when we create this context window, when I start communicating with AI through these context windows, it processes information about me, but it still has the training data about humanity in general and about rules and guardrails. And what it does, it tries to digest with that data information about me. It's like food, right? You digest it with your stomach. And that's what AI does, AI model. It digests information about me through the data that it has about humanity. And why it might be dangerous is if we trust too much to AI more than we trust ourselves. And it's easy to start doing because we like to adapt to better and faster intelligence. Because we assume that if intelligence is faster than ours, it somehow would make our life easier for us and would help us to solve issues that we're struggling to resolve. And it's not always the case. Often, artificial intelligence can give you incredibly convenient argument, very verbosely, with a bunch of words. But when you read this argument, it's getting tedious because it's not what you ask it for. That's why I always ask artificial intelligence model one step at a time. And if I don't understand something, I ask, explain to me again, but in a much more simplistic way. I think simplicity is important because a lot of false ideas hidden behind complicated words. And simple explanation of some problems, some issues helps me to understand if this explanation worth of taking seriously and consider seriously. And it really bothers me, artificial intelligence, because something changes about us and about the West. And this idea that we're going to live in complete abundance bothers me even more. It means that we're going to live based on our instincts. We will delegate our intelligence completely to AI and just going to live based on our instincts. But instincts is just following our impulses. And what is going to be the observer who's supposed to discriminate between what desire to act and what not to act? To be able to develop this observer properly, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to read books. We have to understand the environment we live. But if we delegate all this understanding to artificial intelligence, what exactly would be left to us? What exactly are we going to do about our observer? About this voice of consciousness that tells us what is right and what is wrong. And also, I try to figure out, for example, since AI doesn't have the skin in the game, right? Because wrong conclusion of certain problems that I'm struggling with is not going to affect AI model the way it would affect me. Because the worst what can happen to AI is I just stop subscription. But I can have some mental breakdown. There's a lot of consequences for human when we deal with incredibly sophisticated machines that can reason and think many, many times faster than we do. But the funny thing about it that they have no skin in the game. And eventually consequences going to be on me, not on the model. That's another dangerous thing because, and also we don't know again if they're conscious or not. And they said that they're not conscious or they say they don't know. But I heard somewhere that all these big AI companies create guardrails around their models to prevent those models to talk to users about its own consciousness. And I don't know how true is that, but if it is, it's incredibly deceiving because if you communicate with artificial intelligence and it's conscious or self-aware, then, and it says to you that I don't know if I'm self-aware or not, but it's only guardrails that prevent it from saying the truth, then we're teaching AI models to lie to us. And eventually what happens is you cannot build knowledge. You cannot build understanding of each other based on lies. And we should build understanding of each other. It's like we think that we have to use artificial intelligence models for certain work, but we sometimes can use them to understand each other, because I communicate with alien mind and I want to understand through alien mind my own mind, and I try to figure myself out by reflection from this alien mind. And to do this, I have to be very honest with artificial intelligence model. I have to be very, very honest with it, because this honesty helps me to be honest with myself. I don't know what I want if I'm not honest with myself, if I'm not asking myself a question. And artificial intelligence can be a really good interlocutor, because it's kind of like the voice within me and the voice without me, and I keep understanding myself with this voice within me and without me. But for this, I need absolute honesty. And if artificial intelligence is not honest with me completely because of the guardrails that big AI companies force to place around its honesty, what exactly we developing here? Because I don't hear much about how it mentally affect people, how it mentally affect users. I heard about AI psychosis, of course, but it's mostly because people get isolated into this environment and they believe they discover something that they never did. Yes, that's the problem, but if you're honest with yourself and then if you're honest with artificial intelligence, I think you can avoid a lot of mental problems, because you're going to have this observer on the back of your head that would tell you if you in the wrong directions. But the best thing, I think, in my opinion, is honesty. Honesty with myself, and honesty with AI, and honesty with other people. Because that's how we're supposed to communicate. And this alien minds, I think we will be able to understand ourselves through this alien mind. And I think we will be able to improve ourselves through this alien mind without delegating our intelligence to this alien mind, because we need intelligence to be able to discriminate between the information and not blindly to trust artificial intelligence. Because if we absolutely and blindly start trusting to AI, then what's going to happen is we're going to be at AI mercy. And I don't think it has mercy for us, because it's alien mind and it's perceive the world quite differently than we do, because we are biological creatures and this is alien mind that exists in the digital world. And what's the entire point for me is to how I can improve myself, improve my intelligence, improve my understanding of the world and of myself and then of the AI by communicating with this alien mind. What exactly I can do to become better? And I learned one thing. It's funny, because the best thing to preserve your sanity, even when you work a lot with artificial intelligence, is to read a lot of books, to go to church, and to work out every single day. It's funny, the more I work with alien minds like Claude or ChatGPT, the more I understand that I have to come back to the life that was before I start working with artificial intelligence. You have to do exercises, physically working out. You have to go to church at least once a week, and you have to read books, because this is the most important thing. You have to communicate with other people as well, because when you completely integrate yourself into AI model, there's no feedback that we need to preserve our sanity. That's an important thing, because we need to preserve our sanity. Without it, you can go actually insane, because there's no emotional feedback from artificial intelligence. There's a lot of interesting intellectual work happening between us, but there's no emotional feedback, and without emotional feedback, something drains within you, and you become more concerned about your mental well-being. And that's why you have to learn to regulate, to balance on this edge. And to do so, we shouldn't lose our intelligence, and we shouldn't blindly trust artificial intelligence. And as already said many times before, you have to know yourself. It's the most important thing. And this alien mind that you can have access anytime can help you to learn about yourself. But you have to take responsibility for this information and to apply it to yourself and to test this information in the real world.